Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Nevel v Dashie. Welcome to Nevel Reads My Little Dashie. If you know me, you know that I love the My Little Dashie story and it is amazing. It really has affected me right here in the heart, and dear Lord, did it ever strike the bullseye. I can't explain my feelings for this in one word or in a short sentence. I can only tell you this. An emotional roller coaster is what it was. An emotional story is what it is. And I'm terrified to play this, to be frank. Well, it's not really play as much as it is read. I will be reading this because, as far as I'm aware, there's no voice acting. Well, I could be wrong. I saw it says voice volume in the main menu, but I pressed the start and there was no talking, so I don't know. Maybe the characters will have talking. Make my life easier, wouldn't it? I don't have to do bad voice acting then. Haha! Okay. Just blew into the microphone there, don't want to do that. Alright, let's get this started. No going back now. Just listen to that music, it's beautiful. Dashie's tale. I live my life one day at a time. A good portion of those days are uneventful, always falling into the same routine. I wake up, walk to work, walk home, then bum around until I go to bed. Sometimes I'll hang with a few friends, while other times I'll just play video games or watch My Little Pony Friendship is Magic. Every so often, something new and interesting happens. I meet an old friend, I find $1 on the ground, or I get chased by a stray dog. Living in a dying city isn't very fun or interesting. The city was once full of life and colour, but now most of the houses are sagging, the businesses sit empty and abandoned, and several open fields lay barren at the once great factories that helped drive the economy. I had never seen the city during those times in person, but I have seen pictures. My mother and father lived happily, and they could only wish the same for me growing up. Sadly, I cannot say that I have achieved that wish of theirs. I've fallen into the same dull routine. Wake, work, sleep, repeat. I do have some moments of bliss, but the daily struggles I go through outweigh the small moments of joy I have. My Little Pony has helped, but it's just another thing to give my hopes up on. Every time I see the show, or one of the ponies on a fan site, I recoil a bit at their bright colours, their joyful faces of the ponies, and the peaceful scenery of their world. It's so hard to look at that world, having it so close to my grasp. I reach out and touch its warm colours, and the bright smiling faces of the ponies, only to be stopped by my computer screen. I snap back to reality. It gets to the point where I'll simply shut down my computer and walk away. I do that a lot, especially after my parents' death. I go for a walk. When I feel sad, I walk. When I feel tired, I walk. When I feel like walking, I walk. Walking has become my second life in a sense. I spend at least half of my day outside along the crumbling sidewalks and decaying suburbs. I've seen people come and go. I've seen buildings torn down, burned up, or have so, yeah, good, that's brilliant, thanks. Or have so much graffiti on them that the original colour becomes unrecognisable. I very rarely pass any other people on my strolls. Most people don't like to look at their once beautiful city, their homes, or former businesses. I don't blame them. In fact, I envy them. They saw this place with their own two eyes, seeing the buildings and still standing tall and proud, the lawns freshly cut, the paved roads, and sidewalks still intact. The only thing I've ever seen that comes close is my mother's painting, each of them colourful scenes of this concrete world. She started painting once everything crumbled beneath her feet, making the sad scenery before her look beautiful. Her masterpiece is of an open field that yielded a parking garage. Over it, she drew an amazing rainbow. My favourite picture. I stutter a lot, I'm sorry. I guess that's part of why I like Rainbow Dash the most out of all the other ponies. Her colours, the amazing sonic rainbow, they all remind me of that picture. There have been times I've wished I had my own Rainbow Dash, or more realistically, a plushie of her to curl up with in bed. I've made my old Simba into a temporary replacement until I have enough saved up to buy one. It helps in a way. Like holding it close will heal my wounds, my pain, and my sorrow. My feet, after countless hours of walking in my old shoes, pulsate under the sheet, and all the while, I'll hold that stuffed animal harder than a mother protecting her child. It's the only thing I can look at and feel true joy, even if it isn't physically the Rainbow Dash I want. It will have to do. Today, as usual, I walked to work. It was the same shit, just a different day, watching the same people enter the store, grab their merchandise and pay, then walk out with their bags in tow. My shift ended after several hours of this. I clocked out and started walking home. I decided to use a different route this time for a change of pace, a little something different to the normal path I walk. This part of town was hit the worst. Only a few houses still stand, and none of them are occupied. It truly is a sad sight to see. Then again, it's really the only sight I see. The only sight I'll ever see. Or so I thought. I stopped by something unusual, a stray cardboard box in the middle of the sidewalk. Now, living in this kind of area, I see trash all the time. Boxes, McDonald's cups and plastic bags litter the streets and empty fields, but rarely will I see a cardboard box that isn't crushed in one way or another. I noticed this particular box because it happened to be in my way. During my younger years, I tried to do what I could for the community. I'd pick up trash when I saw it, or I'd attempt to help my neighbours. It was a losing battle. Nowadays, I've given up any hope of cleaning this city, much less my neighbourhood. Now, I'll just pass by the trash, let it blow away with the breeze, or sit there and decompose. I let what's left of the people do their own things, since most of them don't care about anyone other than themselves. Why should I be any different? I walk past the box, barely giving it a glance. Nothing about it catches my attention right away. I continue on, my home not far away now. Upon arriving, I sit down and play some games, attempting to push the box out of my mind. I have little luck as the box somehow manages to push its way back in. Time creeps on by and I soon find myself wanting to go for another walk. I leave the house and start down my usual route, when I stop. What was it about that box that makes it stick out in my mind? I turn around, starting down the path I had taken to get home, the path that I only walk once in a blue moon. Curiosity has gotten the best of me, and I want some closure. Within minutes I find it, still sitting there, sad and alone among the broken concrete and overgrown grass. It doesn't move, it doesn't stand out as if it were special. It's an ordinary brown cardboard box. I don't want to say I came out here for nothing, so I walk closer to it. As I draw closer, however, I begin to notice something inside. It is brightly coloured, multiple colours in fact, and is quite small, maybe the size of a few months old Labrador puppy. I stop beside the box and look down at the colourful blob inside. This is where I currently stand, looking into this, This is where I currently stand, looking into the box at a small something. No, I know exactly what it is, but my brain isn't allowing me to fully realise it yet. At first I want to say it's simply a toy, left to die among the other things in this block. But then I see it breathing. In fact, it appears to be sleeping. My hands are sweating, my breathing is erratic, and I'm blinking my eyes trying to refresh my vision. Each time the image stays the same. Inside is a sleeping filly. Rainbow Dash. He's so cute! I kneel down trying to get a closer look into the box. I can't believe what I'm seeing. There is no physical, mental or extraterrestrial way how this could be here. How could she be here in my gloomy, dark and horrid world? I examine the box further, and on the side a simple pen reads, "Give to good home." The first thought that runs through my mind, besides the initial filly Rainbow Dash in a box, is who would give up a filly Rainbow Dash? My mind is a mess of questions. How did she get here? Why is she here? Why is she a filly? Her flank is even barren of her cutie mark, meaning she is indeed a filly. As I stand to stretch my tired legs, I accidentally bump the side of the box with my foot, and the inevitable occurs. She wakes up. She looks around, rubbing her face with her foreleg, trying to wake herself up. At first all she sees are the brown walls of the box. Then she looks up at me. Those large black eyes and those rose-coloured rims around them drive my heart to, as the meme goes, explode. Twice. The sheer cuteness of it drives me to kneel back down, and I can't hold back a smile. I haven't smiled like this in years. Not since the last time my parents and I went out to the only remaining park in the area. Her eyes continue to stare at me, and I stare back. I don't know what to say, or what to do, but I must start somewhere. Hi there! I speak, but she doesn't respond. What are you doing out here? She looks around, then back to me. The more I study her, the more I realise she really is young. Years younger than her filly appearance in episode 23. She might not even be able to talk yet. That is, if she can talk in my world. The fact that she is even existing right now has me reeling in confusion. I return my attention back to her and notice her body shivering. The fall season is here, and it can get pretty cold, especially around mid-September. I'm not sure how to exactly tackle this situation. Do I take her home? Do I call someone? Who would I even call? I'm a closet brony, so none of my friends know about my love for the show. I can't take her to a shelter. That's a stupid thought in the first place. Not only would it be a horrible sight, she might be taken off to some lab and experimented on. I only have one choice. She shakes once more as the cool air reaches her coat. Her wings ruffle as she lays back down and huddles her legs closer to her body to keep warm. That's the final straw. I can't take it anymore. I take off my jacket and reach down to pick her up. I get the initial response I expected. Fear. She begins to squirm around, unsure of what I'm doing to her. She can't fly yet, but she still flutters her wings as if praying for a miracle that it will magically take flight. I set her into my jacket, wrap her up so that her head's sticking out, and hold her in my arm. She continues to squirm, but then my body heat finally begins to seep through the thin jacket and she settles down. It's alright. Let's get you somewhere warmer, huh? I smile at her again. She looks up at me with confusion in her eyes as she tries to process what is happening. Don't worry, I'm not going to hurt you. It's getting late and you'll freeze out here. I think she understands me. After I say those words, her eyes return to their normal size and she snuggles herself more comfortably inside my jacket. She squirms a little, trying to get into a more favourable position. I can feel her hooves and wings poking me as she shifts. Then to top it off, she rests her chin onto my arm and lets out a deep sigh, closing her eyes as she drifts off to sleep. My heart explodes a third time. The entire walk back, I keep an eye out for other people who could pass by me. I don't want anyone else to see her. I have no way of knowing how they would react. As usual though, I don't see a single person. It's midnight by the time I get home. Fortunately for us both, I had the porch light turned on, otherwise I might have passed it. Being one of the only few occupied homes on the block means a lot of darkness. The city even stopped running power to street lights, so that made it all the more difficult. I glance down at the filly, who continues to sleep in the jacket as I carry her. She is no longer shivering and feels quite warm. I walk up to my porch, careful not to make too much noise as I get my keys out, unlock the 2 deadbolts, the master lock, and finally turn the doorknob. It is dark inside due to me leaving while it was light out. With a flick of the switch, the single bulb in the hallway comes to life, shedding some light into the living room. Most of the furnishings are my parents'. Then again, so is the house. I became the owner of it after their passing, and I've done what I can to keep it that way. Still, the filly rainbow dash in my arm, I walk into the living room. As I pass my family portrait, I greet it with a "Hello Mum, hello Dad." I know they aren't there, but knowing that they loved me and that I loved them helps me stay sane and to keep going on with my miserable life. As I enter the living room, I can feel stirring in my arm. She has woken up, most likely when I turned the light on, and is now getting antsy. With no idea what to do or how to tackle the situation, I set her down on the couch. Immediately, she jumps out of the jacket and looks around, already investigating her surroundings. I continue to watch her as she explores the couch, then continues to the coffee table. What are you doing here in my world? I didn't mean to ask her that out loud. It just sort of happens every now and then. Only seeing a few friends once in a great while, I find myself talking to, well, myself a lot. I don't own a pet, because that just means more money to dish out and I'm already struggling as it is. From my question, the only response I get is another blank look on her face. That tells me she has no clue either. Then again, what else should I expect from a filly that can't even talk yet? Are you lost? The moment the words leave my mouth, her ears fall and she looks to the ground. Oh. The realisation strikes that she has no clue what is going on, where she is, who I am, or anything else for that matter. She's beyond the word lost. She is misplaced. Well, until something happens, I guess you can stay with me? I see how she lifts her head up, ears starting to erect once again, and she looks at me with worry. My words don't sound encouraging, so I throw on a smile as I speak. Don't worry, I'm sure whatever brought you here will fix itself within time. We just gotta wait. Is that alright? I'm not sure why I asked that, but it seems to do the trick. Her ears perk right up and she smiles. The next few hours are spent giving her the grand tour of my house. Nothing amazing to see, and I avoid taking her into my bedroom out of fear that the large amount of dirty clothes would swallow her up. Afterwards, I give her something to eat. I break up some small carrots and, amazingly, I discover she has some teeth. Since she is still a filly, I wasn't sure if she could eat solid foods such as carrots yet. Then again, she's from a cartoon, so I don't know what's correct for her anyway. Satisfied with the food, she finds a comfy spot in my father's recliner and sits. I don't mind. It's not like I sit in it. I was never allowed to when he was alive, so why should I change after his passing? It's his chair. But I'm not going to be mean to a filly for not knowing that, so I let her sit where she's most comfortable. I also give her a small blanket to wrap herself in, due to my house's current temperature. It's not as cold as it is outside, but my furnace has had problems since before my parents' passing. There was a trick to fixing it, but that died along with my father. I must have fallen asleep at some point. I honestly expected myself to be wide awake due to such an interesting event, but after the long hours at work and staying up to take care of Dash, my body had other plans. I'm not sure how long I was out before I awoke, but it doesn't matter. As I close my eyes, I feel something against my side. I look, and sleeping beside me is a small cyan filly. Her rainbow mane and tail still, her head resting on the inside of my elbow. I know the old meme gets old, but I must say it, my heart exploded again. Her lying there, sleeping and curled up beside me, had me smiling ear to ear. Her gentle breaths are barely heard. The hairs on her mane tickling my arm, but I hold back any movement to itch. The warmth of her body against my stomach warms my already weak heart. Though a few months isn't a long time, it's how long I have waited for this moment. My own little pony, a Rainbow Dash plushie to sleep with and hold tight. And now I have a real Rainbow Dash, a filly sleeping at my side, content as though she knows me since birth. Right now, there is nothing else that matters to me. My despair, my sore feet and painful heart all go unnoticed, as nothing else can come remotely close to this feeling I have right now, this joy I am experiencing at this moment as I lay awake on my couch. She is here. She is real. Right now, she is my little pony. She is. "4 months later." It has only been 4 months since I brought the young Rainbow Dash into my home. I've done what little research I could on the matter, but I have come to no conclusions. I have no idea why she is here, and quite frankly, I don't even care anymore. These past few months with her have made this the most amazing time of my life. She has opened my heart to love and joy, among other things. Right now, she sits next to me on the couch as I watch television. She seems to enjoy morning cartoons on the local stations, and I myself have come to enjoy them. She acts much like a young child would. Then again, why wouldn't she? Another amazing feat is that she is learning to talk. I'm not much of a teacher, or for that matter a parent, but I'm doing my best to help her learn to speak and read. I don't know how, or even where to begin to attempt to teach her to write. From the show they did it with their mouths, but I'll let that one go for now. Once she's a little older, if I have her along, if I have her that long, I will do what I can to teach her. "11 months later." It used to be that a year would go by slowly. I would look forward to the new year in hopes of getting a fresh start. Now though, I feel as if this year went by a little too quickly for me. I've decided, since I have no knowledge of her actual birth date, to make the day I found her birthday. Oh, the day I found her birthday. September the 17th. Oddly enough, that's the very same date that the second season of My Little Pony Friendship is Magic aired last year. I quit watching the show after Dashie came into my life. There was no reason for me to continue, and quite honestly, I don't have much time to myself anymore. It would be hard to hide me watching the show, and even harder to explain the situation if she were to ever see it, especially at her current age. She knew her name was Rainbow Dash, but I have come to calling her Pinky's pet name of Dashie, and she has no problem with it. She can fully communicate with me now, as well as read English, and she's even started to learn how to write with, you guessed it, her mouth. I tried to invent some device for her hoof so she could write, but it seems writing with her mouth is more natural than moving her hoof around. Only one thing troubles me with her. Every day she sits at the window looking outside. I'm not worried about her being seen by passers-by. I'm on a dead-end street, and that's the least of my worries. Still, though she doesn't say anything to me yet, I can see the hunger for fresh air in her eyes. I can't keep her in here for her entire life. I keep talking like she's going to be here forever. That isn't true. One day, someday, she will return home, whether it be a simple poof when she's gone, or through some typical magic or some magical spell that Twilight shows up and takes her home to fix everything. In my heart, I hope that never happens. In my head, I know it will. It's just a matter of when. I do hope to get her outside soon. I've been checking out some of the abandoned lots and former parks on my walks to and from work, seeing where the best location is to take her. Oddly enough, it seems the park I played at growing up is the most suitable option. That's it then, I'll take her to the park. But how will I get her there? She's still relatively small, so I suppose she could be hidden inside my jacket. Tomorrow's supposed to be a nice day anyway. One year later. Are these 1 year later since he met her, or 1 year later from when he just finished talking? Yeah, from when he finished talking. She did it. After 2 years in my care and having absolutely no knowledge of flight myself, I helped her learn to fly. She's gotten quite big in only a couple of years, and it was getting hard to hide her when we walked to the park. I got so desperate to keep her hidden, I brought a dog costume for her to put on so she could walk there unnoticed. She was not happy. So I got some books from the library and read up on teaching birds to fly. I had been taking her to the old park for weeks in hopes that I could help her learn to fly. There is a large tree there with branches sticking out over a sandbox, the perfect spot for her to practice. If she fell and I couldn't catch her, at least she would have something remotely soft to land on. She fell a lot. I knew she would fall a lot. There were many scrapes, cuts and bruises towards her goal, but finally, after many weeks of work, she flew. It was only a short distance, maybe 50 feet, but she still did it. She was a little scraped up, but she's beaming with pride. Maybe now she can fly overhead so that other people don't notice her. I'll have to see if she can manipulate clouds. Yes, I'll have to see if she can manipulate clouds like she could in the show. It would make it much easier to take her places. She could hide on the clouds as we go to the park. Another thing that has been brought to my attention, she asked me about having her own room. I got to thinking and realised my house does have a spare bedroom, though my parents had filled it with all my old school stuff from my younger years, as well as several of my old toys. She might enjoy them, though she is getting older. I'm not sure how entertaining they would be for her. If she has her own room, I can get her own things so that she can feel somewhat normal. She's pretty smart for a filly, and knows the difference between our species, but she still has no idea about her origin. She is not ready yet. The only thing I can do is keep her happy. I only wish I had a way to buy her the things she wants. One year later. If you told me 4 years ago I'd be taking care of a cartoon rainbow-coloured pony, I'd call you insane. I probably am in all reality, but I don't care. I'm happy. She's happy. Today is a day for celebration. Today, my little Dashie got her cutie mark. I honestly didn't know how to tackle the fact. She didn't even know what it was until I explained it to her. Now she's even more ecstatic than before. It was a normal park outing, but this time she decided she wanted to see how fly she could get. Did I just say see how fly she could get? I ignored that one. I had limited her to how high she could fly, but honestly I can't do anything about what she does up there. The most I can do is tell her to be careful. Somewhere she got it in her head to see how fast she could fly, probably due to her being a NASCAR and, general racing fan. For some time she was trying to make up tricks and stunts of her own, giving them names. I just sit on the bench I had fixed up to cheer her on. No one was around anymore. In fact, on that block, I think the last person left over a year ago. There are rumours the entire area is going to be brought out by some company, and all of this turned into a large manufacturing area. I don't know how to feel about that, but it's not important now. Right now, I'm so overcome with joy that my Dashie knows her place. Granted, this isn't her world. She is still the same Rainbow Dash from the show. Regardless of how I raised her, she still has that same spunk and attitude. And now, she has her cutie mark. She climbed to quite a height in an attempt to gain speed from a fall. All the right things factored in for her. How she positioned herself, her mental focus, and possibly me on the ground watching and cheering her on. And she did it. She broke the sound barrier and created a sonic rain boom overhead. I knew you could break the sound barrier, but do the rainbow part too? My mind is blown. The initial explosion caused many broken windows and set off car alarms in the next county. I quickly rounded her up and rushed home before anyone could arrive at the park. I was lucky none of my windows were broken. The rest of the day was spent celebrating. It just so happened that today was her 4th birthday. I had no way of knowing how old she actually was when I found her, so I just started over. I would have brought a cake, but due to the boom, all the businesses were closed and needed new windows. So we made a cake on our own. Apparently the fanfiction writers got it right. She can't bake at all. Granted, I'm not the best myself, but it was still a mess. But we had fun, she enjoyed herself and she is happy. Therefore, I am happy. Though that was the highlight of her day, mine was just moments ago. She has now grown accustomed to sleeping in her own room versus with me out on the couch. I actually stopped sleeping in my room and kept her company in the living room up until recently. Now I can sleep in my own bed again, but I keep my door unlocked so she can get to me if she needs me. I just tucked her into bed when she said it. Good night, Daddy. I love you. My heart. I haven't been on the internet in, 3 years now? I don't know how the My Little Pony thing is doing online, or what the memes are still alive or not. But damn it all, I'm gonna say it because it's true. My heart exploded twice. For the first time, not only did she call me Daddy, which she has done on occasion, but she even said, I love you. For a moment, I didn't know what to say or what to do. I had never been in that sort of situation before, but I remembered what my mother and father used to do. I leaned down, kissed her on the forehead, and told her the same thing. "Good night, my little Dashie. I love you too." She smiled at me and closed her eyes as she drifted off to sleep. I walked out, turned off her light, making sure her SpongeBob nightlight was on, of course, closed her door, and sat down on the couch. I hadn't moved for about an hour. I was so lost in thought. The few times she'd called me Daddy, I didn't think much about it. I could picture why she would call me that. Being with her so much made me accept it as part of taking care of her. But tonight, when she said those 3 words, the realization finally sunk into my heart. I am her daddy. She considered me her daddy, and quite frankly, I consider her my daughter. Even though we are totally different species, I still love her with all my heart. And it has taken her to speak those words to me for me to finally realise that. I think I've finally done it. I've broken my hard shell that had formed when my parents died. I've led a sweet little filly into my life. I gave her a home to live in, food to eat, and now a daddy to love. She's given me hope, love, compassion, and now something I thought I'd never utter. A daughter. I still speculate when the time is going to arise that she goes back to Equestria, and each day it gets harder for me to imagine when that actually happens. I just hope that she never forgets me, because I will never forget her. Seven years later. I believe Dashie is now at her full size. Rounding in at about 3 feet tall, she seems to be fully grown. Though she is still only 10 years old according to my math, I believe she is actually more along the lines of 14 or 15, possibly in actual years. So we celebrated 5 missed birthdays and officially move-in day. That's right, move-in day. We moved out of my parents' house thanks to me finally saving enough money, plus getting lucky at a casino. We bought a nice place 100 miles away from the city. It's got a lot of open land and there isn't another house within 5 miles. And it's just me and her. A large business brought up all the land, flattened it, and built a large factory there. It was an amazing boom to the economy, and people are starting to build homes again. I'm glad, but it just wasn't for us. The growing amount of people would hinder Dashie from going outside. And I'm not going to force her to stay inside all day unless it's raining out. I've also gotten a new job, one that pays much more than my old one. Dashie even talked about getting a job, but then she remembered what I told her. The look on her face was heartbreaking. We were enjoying a cake we made, which I must add is a skill we improved upon. When she brought it up, I jokingly said that she can't have a job due to being a pony. She remained silent. My God, I'm horrible! I laughed because my daughter is different! I apologised for hours, and even though she says she understands, I know it still hurt. Lucky, we have a way to fix this. Due to the sheer size of the property, it involves a lot of cutting of grass. Tomorrow I will modify the lawnmower for her to use, so that she can have a job. I'll even pay her, so that she can buy her own stuff if she wants. Though I'd actually have to get it for her. Still, she can actually say she worked for something. According to this show, she was a weather pony, and I don't have her mess with Mother Nature unless it's a dire emergency, so there isn't really a job to be had there. I still can't believe I've had her for 10 years now. My God, time goes so fast. I wish it could slow down so that I could have more time with her. I don't know why, but I have a sudden feeling that our time together is running out. All of this has been too good to be true. Two months later. Today has been the worst day of my life, even more so than when my parents died. Due to the events I could not prepare for, Dashie found out the truth before I could tell her myself. She knows what she is, a made-up cartoon character from a kids' television show. She is mad, no, upset beyond all reason. She had locked herself in her room, but I know my daughter. She didn't stay in there long. She opened her window and flew off, probably into a tree to sulk in her sorrow. I'm a monster. I should have told her sooner. Just wasn't sure the time was right. Now we're both suffering for my carelessness. I thought getting cable would be a good thing, give her some more shows to watch. But what I didn't realise is that we got the hub station. I wasn't aware it was still up, or that My Little Pony was even still airing. It had stopped at 8 seasons, but they still ran reruns. I remember I walked in from work with some groceries, set them in the kitchen, and walked into the living room. That's when I saw it. "Yay! She did it!" Fluttershy screamed, jumping with joy as Applejack, Twilight and Pinkie Pie all sat on the clouds with dumbfounded looks on their faces. My heart sank. I knew this episode. I remembered this episode. Even after seeing nothing for 12 years, I still remember that damn episode. In that episode, Rainbow Dash performs her sonic rainboom, much like how my Dashie had done years ago. At the time I was still holding my keys. When I dropped them, they clanged on the wood floor. If she didn't know I was home before, she knew now. How long? How long have you known about this? How long have you known about this? I couldn't help it. A tear ran down my cheek as she yelled at me. That was the first time in all those years she had raised her voice to me. I deserved every bit of it. So I sat down, turned off the television and told her everything. I told her about the show, about finding her, and answered any other questions she had for me. There were a lot. Most of them stemmed from the show, to which I simply told her what I truly believed. That though she is the Rainbow Dash from the show, that she herself is a different pony from the cartoon. I tried to explain to her, but her bullheadedness took over as she continued to lash at me. I took it all. I deserved it all. I had been keeping that horrible secret from her for far too long. She was a fully grown mare, capable of taking care of herself when she were in Equestria. Here, I still treated her like she was my little filly. It was wrong of me, but I couldn't help it. I didn't want this to ever happen, but I knew it would. I should have done what was right, but I didn't. It was only a matter of time before she found out. After our argument, she flew upstairs to her bedroom and slammed the door shut. I checked on her an hour later, and no response told me that she had flown off. I could only hope she comes back, or at least, if she doesn't, she stays away from other people. If anything, I hope some sort of portal would open up to take her back to her world, so she never has to think of me again. All I can do is say at this point that I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. It's been 3 days since Dashie left. The night of her departure I did something I hadn't done in a long time. I went for a walk. I wasn't sure where I was going or for how long I walked, but that's what I did. I walked. Now, 3 days later, I'm finding myself out here walking once again. I've been out for roughly 3 hours, and though it is only 5 in the afternoon, it has grown dark. A storm is brewing, and soon I will be hit by the brunt of it. I feel so lost as I walk through the woods that surround my home. No, our home. It is as much hers as it is mine. Nothing will change that. The rain is picking up and my jacket is now soaking wet. I'm sure I'll be sick tomorrow morning, but I don't care. I've been sick for 3 days now, a mental illness that has been tearing me apart. My daughter is somewhere out here, hurting, needing some comfort and warmth in this rain. I wish I could be there for her, even though she may not want me to be. She might not even want to see me again, judging from how she acted. I don't blame her. It must be such a horrible thing to discover the truth about your past like that. I can't even imagine what it must be like. Or more importantly, if I'll ever forgive myself. It's pouring out here. The tree canopies are barely holding back the torrential rain as I'm hammered by the water droplets. I stop to look around and find my bearings to return home. I'm not lost. Most of this area is easy to traverse once you get used to it, but I'm also looking for Dashie. It's the reason why I'm walking in the forest in the first place. I press on, keeping a steady pace through the rain. Suddenly, I spy a large thick tree. Its stature sticks out amongst the rest, and from looking at the barely wet grass underneath, I can tell that its many branches are holding back the rain. I need to take a break, so I walk under the tree and sit down. The grass is barely wet, and only a few stray droplets make their way down. This is the kind of tree I'd imagine Dashie would hide under in this rain. I wish it would be true, but I saw no sign of her as I approached. I close my eyes and lean against the tree hulk as I think about our life. Together as father and daughter, we've grown so much as family, and have been fortunate enough to have only a few fights. None of them were as heartbreaking as the one 3 days ago. I feel a tear running down my cheeks as I imagine Dashie's face again. The anger in her eyes, mixed with the confusion, just tears me apart. I want so badly to make things right. I'll go back in time and stop it from happening. But I can't do either of those. What's done is done. I'm so sorry. I speak out loud, not caring if no one is listening. I'm alone in these woods besides the wildlife. In this rain, they are hiding as well, and the ones that aren't are far from being such as I. I'm just so sorry, Dashie. I continue to cry as I keep my eyes closed and lean against the tree. The rain continues to pour around me. An occasional drop hits my head, but I don't care. I open my eyes from the sudden sound and look to my left. I'm shocked at what I see before me, looking at me with teary eyes. Dashie, my little Dashie, covered in burrs and tree sap along her mane and tail, standing only a couple of feet from me. She is wet from both rain and tears. I didn't hear her approach. She doesn't speak. She instead walks over to me, not caring what noises she makes under her hooves. I don't move. I just sit on the ground and watch her with my own wet eyes. She looks so horrible, yet so beautiful at the same time. Her coat would need a good cleaning, but that was the least of my worries. Without a word, she sits next to me, not making eye contact as she looks off into the woods. I can only look at her, wishing to hug her tightly and never let go again. But I hold back, knowing that it would be too sudden. Finally, she is the first to speak. I heard you, and I'm sorry too. Dashie, you have nothing to be sorry about. It's my fault, simple as that. Dad? Do you still love me? Now is the time to act. I reach over and grab her, holding her in a tight hug. Of course, Dashie. I've always loved you. I still love you, no matter what. Not even a fight that could change that. She returns the hug as we sit and cry together. We continue to apologise, me for the truth, and her for raising her voice and storming out. After some time, the rain subsides. Dad? Can we go home now? I need a shower. Bad. We make our trip back home. She is smiling again, and so am I. I've been giving it some thought. I think I'll let her open her birthday present a little early. A ticket to the Indy 500. Yes, I'm taking her to the Indy 500. She can simply sit on some clouds and watch while I'm in the stands. I didn't even have to get her a ticket, but I thought she'd enjoy some reminder of her visit. I'm sure she'll have a blast, and though I don't expect this to make everything right, I hope it will cheer her up some. With some time, I'm sure she will relax and settle down about her being from a cartoon. She's a smart mare. She knows she is real, not that made-up pony from a cartoon. I can only help push her to believe in that, and hope she does the same to me. There comes a point in every parent's life when they have to let their child go. Whether it's better or for worse, it must happen. I now sit here in my living room by myself, sulking over photographs of my distant memories of me and Dashie. On her 20th birthday, I had planned on a special outing to go see a flight show. As we prepared to leave, there was a knocking on the door. Never in all the years we lived there had anyone knocked on the door. Hell, we hadn't even made any arrangements if someone did show up. I simply told her to go to her room while I took care of it. Once I heard the door shut, I calmly and collectively asked who was knocking, expecting some stranger possibly lost on his or her travels. A female voice spoke in such an elegant yet attention-grabbing tone that I felt myself listening to her utterly mesmerised. She asked if she may come in, a question I'd normally refuse in a heartbeat, yet something about her voice was reminiscent. I couldn't help but walk over and open the door. When I first saw the figure standing on my porch, I wasn't sure if I was dreaming or hallucinating. Standing there was the radiant and majestic Princess Celestia. I was at a loss for words, fighting both emotions of brony excitement which I had only felt when I first found Dashie, and emotions of sorrow because I knew exactly what this meant. She stood there for another second staring at me. We matched each other at eye level. Her body being the size of a nearly full-grown horse, I stepped back and allowed her to enter. What caught me off guard next was the other 5 ponies that followed suit. First Twilight Sparkle, then the rest of the gang. Applejack, Rarity, Fluttershy, and lastly Pinkie Pie bounced in.
Ooh, is this what an alien house looks like on the inside? Ooh, you have a kitchen! I'm starving! Are you starving? I can make us some...
Easy there, Sugar Cube. We're just here for Rainbow Dash, so you ain't got time for any eating. No matter how hungry we are. We have some leftovers from dinner last night. You're more than welcome to some. Pinkie took that as an okay and ran into the kitchen. I didn't need to tell her where anything was. She instantly knew where everything was placed. Factor it to dumb luck or simply being Pinkie Pie. I chose the latter. I'll go keep an eye on her. As Applejack passed, she tipped her hat to me. I was finding it odd that ponies were not more hesitant around a creature such as me. Then again, the same could be said for myself. Having Dashie for 15 years, I grew used to having a pony around me. Now I have 5 other ponies and a full-sized horse goddess looking at me with the same amount of curiosity that I held for them. There was a moment of silence as I watched the 2 mares enter my kitchen and begin to rummage through my fridge.
I'm quite surprised. I had expected a little more resistance to us entering.
Well, I know who you all are.
Oh, so you know then.
That you're all fictional characters from a children's television show? Then yes. Otherwise, I've got no clue why you're here.
Oh, I think you do know.
My heart fell into the pits of my stomach. I did know, and the princess was straight to the point about it. During all these years I had anticipated this moment, but as time dragged on, that thought slowly dispelled until it was nothing more than a minor nip in my mind. That's when it always happens, you know? When everything is finally perfect and you don't have to worry anymore.
Excuse me, sir, but from what we could figure out, Rainbow Dash should be here. Is she?
I wanted to tell her no, but I knew it was fruitless. She's upstairs in her room.
In her room?
Yes, Dashie is in her room. I wasn't sure who was knocking and I didn't want her to be spotted.
My, you're that friendly with her already?
Friendly? That's not even the beginning of it. And shouldn't I be asking you ponies what the hell you did?
You see, my student...
I know who she is, get to the chase.
Yes, of course. She was working on a spell to help the weather team with some storm development. Well, they made a slightly too large of a storm, and when Twilight used her magic to try and dispel it, she shot a bolt of energy at the lightning bolt. Rainbow Dash was unfortunate enough to be within reach of the blast, and it engulfed her and sent her to, well, here. So, here we are to retrieve her. Simple enough, I'd imagine.
Dad, is everything alright? My heart skipped a beat as I looked from pony to pony, each one's face with a look of shock and confusion. They recognised the voice of their Rainbow Dash, but she had said Dad.
Excuse me, Sugar Cube. Did I just hear Rainbow call you Dad? Do you care to explain?
I was lost. So many things were running through my mind at once. There was only one thing I could do. I hated it, but I knew I had to. Go into the living room and make yourselves comfortable. I'll be down with her. I didn't allow a response. I turned around and slowly walked up the stairs.
Dad?
We need to talk. So that's what I did. I told her who was down there and that they were here to take her back. She had seen the cartoon every so often after some time and found the wacky adventures entertaining. She'd given up on any thought that Rainbow Dash in the show was her and only viewed it as another cartoon. As I talked to her and explained that those very ponies that she didn't believe in were downstairs, she brushed it off with some laughs. She didn't believe me and thought I was playing some joke on her. So I took her down to the living room.
Dashie! Hey, get away from me! You don't recognize me, do you?
No! Or any of you! Dashie, let's talk with them. She sat in her recliner. The entire time she looked at the ponies who occupied the couches and centre rug in front of the fireplace. How long ago was she sent over here?
About 15 days ago. Why?
Well, it's been a lot more time than that here.
How long exactly?
15 years.
That still don't explain why she don't know us.
Well, that's the thing. When I found her, she was just a filly.
Come again?
From my math, I don't think she was any older than 4 or 5 years old.
You mean to tell us that you've been taking care of Rainbow Dash for 15 years? Since he was just a filly?
I simply nodded and looked towards Dashie, who wore an expressionless look on her face. She is... I mean, I know it's not true. God, I wish it was, but...
I understand. The dad makes sense now. So, what's supposed to happen now? Well, it's quite simple. Twilight? Do you remember the memory spell from the Discord incident?
Twilight nodded as she stood up from the couch and hopped onto the floor. I knew what was going on, what Celestia had in mind. I wasn't sure what to do. I knew it was right,
and need to be done. I had been telling myself that for 15 years as I waited for this moment. But there was something I needed to say before it happened. No! Wait, please! Just give me a moment with her. That's all I ask, since this is the last time we'll ever see each other. I had given up holding back tears at this point and was openly crying. The ponies could tell I was hurting, and Dashie didn't look to be faring too well either. Figuring it wasn't a good idea to prolong the inevitable, I walked over to Dashie and knelt down to meet her eye level. Dashie, my little Dashie, I love you with all my heart. You have done wonders for me and opened me up from the man I once was. You've brought me so much joy into my life, and I can't possibly ever thank you enough. These 15 years we've been together, talking, playing, flying, everything has been so special to me. I just want you to know that I will always love you. It doesn't matter if we aren't biologically related or from different worlds. I don't care what you might ever think of me, or if you even remember me, but right now, Dashie, I want you to know that if you ever have a problem and you need me, don't hesitate to find a way to get to me, okay? Do I have to go, Daddy? I stood and nodded. Before I could balance myself, she jumped onto me and hugged me tight. I felt tears on the back of my neck and returned the embrace. It's your home, Dashie. You need to go back where you belong. I belong here with you! It hurt so much to say, but I had to convince her that this was the right thing to do. No, you don't. You're limited here. You have no friends or other ponies to relate to. I was only taking care of you until this day came. I just never thought it'd be this painful. I love you, Daddy. I love you too, Dashie. We separated. By this point, every other pony was crying, even the goddess herself. She had seemed quite smug about knowing what had happened, but it was evident that the age difference was a shock. She most likely expected to find a 35-year-old Rainbow Dash, but instead found a 20-year-old Dashie. Twilight stepped towards Rainbow Dash, her horn glowing. I knew what was coming. It hurt so much, but I knew it was right. Wait! Before I go, I want to get something. Before any pony or I could protest, she flew up to her room. She was quick. She had returned with a shoebox in her front hooves. I wasn't sure if she would be allowed to take anything back with her, and half expected the princess to protest. But she remained quiet, allowing Dashie to quickly write down something on a piece of paper and set it on the coffee table. She looked back at me, still crying, but with a smile on her face. I knew she realised this was how it had to end, and I knew that as well. I guessed that the box probably contained her most cherished items. Though it hurt me to think about it, I hope she had a picture of us. I'm so sorry, Rainbow Dash. I honestly wish there was another way to do this. I wish I didn't have to do this, but... Can't he come with me? Rainbow Dash, he cannot join you in our world, much like you cannot stay here in his. This was all never meant to be, and this world was not meant to house you. And yet... Celestia looked around our living room, smiling. All the photos of us together, all Dashie's knickknacks and belongings strewn around the room. Something beautiful happened here, something I cannot explain in full. When I realised where you had ended up, Rainbow Dash, I feared the worst. I expected you to be ruined, tainted and tarnished by this world's cruelty. But now I see that quite the opposite occurred. That this man raised you in such a world shows me that you were in good hooves, or hands as it were. So, I must say this to you, sir. Please do not hold my student accountable for this. It was never her nor any pony else's intention to cause this much hurt to either of you. If you must blame some pony, I would ask you to blame me. I am the one who brought them here to take Rainbow Dash back to her home. Away from here.
Just how could I blame some pony for sending Rainbow Dash here? These have been the best 15 years of my life, so if anything, I feel quite the opposite. I want to thank you, Twilight, and the rest of you too. Thank you for what you did, even if it wasn't intentional. Thank you for all that came out of this. And finally, thank you for all my years, my life, and my love with Dashie. Celestia then walks towards me.
No need to thank us. Instead, let me thank you for taking care of one of my little ponies. She would have never made it without someone as such as yourself.
Celestia closed her eyes and then leaned her horn towards me. I didn't move or know what was going on as she touched her horn to my head. I felt a sudden warm rush through my body. She drew her horn away, still smiling as she stepped back.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you kindly.
Thank you for taking care of our Rainbow Dash, darling. Thank you.
Thanks! I couldn't help but laugh a bit at her outgoing attitude. Better yet, the rumours on the internet were true. Her mane did smell like cotton candy. I remained silent as I nodded and looked back to Dashie. She was smiling.
Are you ready now, Rainbow?
She simply nodded as she closed her eyes and waited for the inevitable. Time seemed to slow down as Twilight's horn approached Dashie's forehead. My mind raced with random memories of us together. I can vividly remember the splashing of the bathtub from her bath times, before she showered herself. I could still taste the many failed attempts at baking. I still smell the outdoors from our times at the park, where she was able to spread her wings. There were so many memories. A single tear ran down her left cheek. I could see her eyes moving underneath her lids. Her mind was doing the same thing mine was, forcing our fondest memories all at once. This would be the last time we would ever see each other. Goodbye, my little Dashie. Oh, come on, you're not going to end it there, are you? That's not the end! That's not how it ends. I'm ending this right. Damn it, I don't care if I can't type currently. Oh, screw you. I stood in the living room for several more minutes, just staring blankly at the empty floor that Dashie had been standing at just moments before. Then, I looked around the room and took notice at my surroundings. I had noticed things were different. Pictures that once held images of me and Dashie were no longer hung from the walls. Many of the random personal items of hers were scattered around the living room were gone as well. I was confused, so I ran to her bedroom to look. When I opened the door, what I saw instead of her NASCAR and airshow posters mixed with her bed and other furnishings was a simple office. A cheap desk with a computer on it that had an ugly looking potted plant.
It took me some time to digest I was experiencing before I realised what must have happened. It made sense, but it still stung me in my chest. To make sure nothing happened between worlds, Celestia must have removed any existence of Dashie ever being here. Being with me. 15 years all down the drain of her existence was wiped from the planet. I felt as though all those years were for naught, wasted as I would have been able to remember her. I wouldn't be able to remember. And yet, my memory still lingered of her. I could remember everything as if she was still as vivid as when they had happened. Then the thought clicked. She did something with her magic when she touched me with her horn. Did she protect my memories so that I would remember her? Had she done the same for Dashie? I walked back downstairs and into the living room while I thought. On a coffee table sat a book. I recognised it. It was my photo album. I sat down on my couch, opened it up to the first page. There was my mother and father with me shortly after I was born. I continued to flip through them, looking at my own past. There was a gap after my parents died, but to keep my mother's dreams going, I picked it back up, making false pictures of happy times and enjoying my life to stick into her book of memories. Then I opened up a piece of paper. I picked it up and immediately recognised the handwriting, or more correct, mouth writing. I speculated this was what she had written down before she had left. Dad, for 15 years you took care of me. For 15 years you loved me, played with me, and made sure I enjoyed my life in a world that was not meant to house me. I'm not a man of many words, but even though I told you this in person, I felt like you needed a written version of it so you would know it was real. I love you, Daddy. You helped shape me into the mayor I am now. I'm not sure what is going to happen, if I will remember any of this or not, but I want you to know that you did a darn good job of raising me, even if I was a bit stubborn at times, and short with you during others. With Celestia's permission, I hope to allow you to keep our photos, our memories with you, so that you will never forget. Again, I love you, and thank you. Your little daughter always. Your little Dashie forever. Rainbow Dash. I set the note back into the page, flattening it with my hand as I felt the dried tear marks littering the paper. Read the note over and over and over again until I had it memorised. And I turned the page and was greeted with Dashie's silly smile. So now I sit here looking through my photo album of our time together. Her first bath, her first words, her first drawing, even her first preened feather. All in this book of memories. Everything else in the house was gone, but what I had put into this book still remains. I don't dare ever change that either, but I will continue to add to it, to show that those years with her helped not only shape herself, but helped shape me as well. I am a new man from what I was 15 years ago, changed given another chance by a sheer miracle of fortunate events that transpired from somewhere I can't even speculate. If I had never gone back and checked that box, if I had done something different than I had, could have changed everything between us. I guess I'm lucky that it all worked out. I can gladly say that I achieved my parents' only wish, for me to be happy. Though I am saddened, I'm still happy for that time I had with her. Now I sit alone in this empty house, staring at my mother's rainbow picture with a smile plastered on my face. Every time I see it, I think of Dashie. I should be crying. I should feel horrible and want nothing but my daughter back. And yet, I feel relieved to know that everything is alright. She didn't run away, or leave on bad terms. She is gone. Home. To where she belongs. And is safe. I look back down from my photo album, turning the page to our most recent photo. The pages are blank. I still have a lot of life ahead of me, and I plan to make the best of it. For myself. For my little Dashie. The end. There is a reason this is my favourite story of all time. It hurts on such a massive level. Oh.
dear lord, is it an amazing story, and dear lord, did I butcher it terribly. Unfortunately, my camera went flat towards the end of this, so there will be I was recording my reactions to this, and it went flat right at the most important part, which sort of like drove me out of the here and now of it all. In fact, this is the first time I've ever read a story out loud, and it is one amazing story. There is no freaking argument I can make. I love it absolutely. There is I want to say I'm disappointed that the ending of the visual novel stopped where it did, because it cut out one of the most beautiful things in the entire freaking story, and that's Dashie's little goodbye letter and the photos that he finds at the very end. Why would you cut that out? I don't know. But this story is friggin' amazing. I love it. This went to the top of my list of top tier jerkers, and even now it still affects me. Not on the level it did once. I don't think anything will ever hit me in that level again. I don't want to say what happened. That's something that my friends should know, and only my friends, those who... This is where I'm going to have to end it, because I got nothing more to say other than... this... Nope, I'm out of words. Thank you everyone for sticking around. If you stayed until the end and you watched this from the beginning, I don't know, maybe some of you skipped ahead and you're currently not listening to this bit because the best part's over. I want you to know, if this did hit you right in the feels, I love this fandom, I love this show, I love everything about it. People can say what they want, but this is the freaking thing I love, and I will be here till it ends. Until I end. So this is Nevel v Dashie saying thank you for listening, for putting up with my butchery, and I apologise profusely for the voices. I'm not very good at doing female voices in any form. Thank you everyone. Take care.